And it's the same thing with secular slavery. And when I say secular slavery, I mean the same thing that Jesus freak meant. Slavery of black people. It's totally separate issue for the same reason as the Holocaust. It was not sanctioned by God. But you know what? There's another reason there too. There's another reason, and that is the way that they treated their slaves. They treated them very poorly. And to understand what I'm talking about, you have to understand what is slavery by God's divine law. So let's take a look at the Bible, see what they talk about. Let's just take a look here. Alright, just turn to Leviticus. Leviticus 25, 45 to 46. And this will give you an idea of what a slave is. By God's divine law. You may acquire them, it's talking about slaves, you may acquire them from among the aliens residing with you and from their families that are with you who have been born in your land, and they may be your property. You may keep them as a possession for your children after you, for them to inherit as property. That's what a slave is by God's divine law. It's property. It's something that you own. So once you understand that, it makes sense. You have to treat your property kindly. Now what does that mean? Let's just take a look at Exodus here. Turn to Exodus 21, 20 to 21. Whenever a slave owner strikes a male or female slave with a rod, and the slave dies immediately, the owner shall be punished. But if the slave survives a day or two, there is no punishment, for the slave is the owner's property. Basically, if you are beating your slave with a tire iron, for instance, and they die, that's wrong. That's disgusting. However, if they live for a few days, it's all good, okay? That's what it means to treat your slave kindly. Basically, just show a little decorum when you're beating, okay? Now, so I have seen some interpretations that say that if they get up after a day or two, then it's okay. But either way, the message is the same. The message is the same. You can beat your slaves, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. They're your property, you own them. But just show a little decorum. Hold back a little bit when you're beating them, so that they can, cling to life for a while. That's what it means. That is what kindness is to slavery. Within the context. Yeah, you got to look at it in context. Now, in secular slavery, they didn't do that. They didn't treat them kindly like that. In secular slavery, they would beat them so bad, they would cling to life for a few days. They would beat them so bad that they would just die immediately. They did all kinds of horrible things. And that's another reason why secular slavery is completely separate from biblical slavery. The slavery prescribed in this book is good and just. This is a pinnacle that we should all strive to. It's only the perversions of slavery by man that give this slavery a bad name. Now, I think I just covered slavery in the Bible pretty well. Again, if I missed out anything, you're free to watch Jesus Freak's video. His was very good. But Jesus Freak, this is to you specifically. I especially like the last part of your video. The last part of your video where you're talking about the way that heathens view the world and view life and death. I completely agree. Heathens, they're fixated on this life, this world. Us believers, we know that this life is just one tiny little blip compared to eternity. This life is just one small initial speed bump on an eternal road. We know that. We know that when you divvy up the worth, that the afterlife has 99.9 repeating % of the worth, and this life has the rest. Now, why would I value something that has so little worth? I wouldn't, obviously. It's the afterlife that's important. And yet, all these heathens, they think this life is all there is, so they're fixated on this life. When in fact, you shouldn't be. It's us, the believers, that are fixated on death as we should be. Because when you die, you don't really die. You live. Unless you're a non-believer. Then when you die, you really do die. Forever. And you burn just like you should. Really, Jesus Freak, I love your videos. I especially like this video. Keep up the good work. As always, Also, there's one last thing. Lord, I know you're watching right now. I know you listen to everything and you watch everything. So, I know that you've never asked me, possibly small militia, to enter into a nation and enslave the people and kill everyone that disagrees. I know that. But if you ever need anyone, I'm ready. I'm ready, willing, and able, Lord. I would love to do this for you. I love serving you, and I wouldn't hesitate for 1 minute. Please, if you ever need... I won't do it if you don't... If you don't want me to, that's fine, Lord. I won't do it. If you don't want me to, I won't. I'm just saying, if you ever need somebody, come to me first. I promise I will not let you down. But anyway, I love you, Lord, and I love doing your bidding. Amen.